capitalize for me, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, as I look at chapter 2, we are looking at equations. So chapter 2 is going to focus on equations. We already talked about equations some. What do we know about equations? They what? They have to have an equal sign. And what does that equal sign mean? Okay. So equal sign means they are the same. The left and the right side are the same. So if I look at equation, like we talked about last chapter, I'm trying to work to get the left side and the right side the same. Now one of those sides is going to have a variable, and I need to say, okay, what number does that variable represent to make the left side and the right side equal? That's what we're trying to figure out. Now some of these you're going to be able to look at and kind of think about, and some of these you're not. So as we go through chapter 2, some of them are going to get harder, so it's going to be harder to just look at. Before we get to actually solving equations, chapter 2.1, lesson 2.1, is looking at writing equations. How do I write equations given words? We did this with expressions. Same idea, except we're going to have an equal sign now. So first thing we want to look for is we want to look for the equal sign. So what are some words that if you see written means equal sign? Do what? Product is multiplication. Do what? Equal to, yes. So equal to means equal sign. Okay. What are some other words that if you see, you know that's going to be an equal sign? Is. Good. A couple other ones. Those would be the big two. Sum means addition. What's some other words? What's the past tense of is? Was. You don't really see that a whole lot, but it would be the same thing. What else would be equal sign? What does an equal sign mean? Left and the right side are the what? Same. So same as, same. You don't see it as often. Any other ones? Will be. Might be another phrase. So we're doing the same thing we did in last chapter, except I'm adding an equal sign to it. So we're still looking that table we made in the notes where he said, okay, if I give you 2 times a number times 4, how do I write that out? It's the same thing, except now we're going to be adding an equal sign. So we like looking for where the equal sign is first and then kind of going from there. So as I look at this, example 1, translate each sentence into an equation. So now we are translating into an equation. So I need an equal sign. A number b divided by 3 is 6 less than c. So I like looking for the equal sign first. Is, right there, equal sign. And that helps me kind of split up what's my left side and what's my right side. So that is an equal sign. A number b divided by 3. How do I represent a number b divided by 3? How do I represent that in an equation? B over 3, fraction, yep. B over 3 is, a number b divided by 3 is, b over 3 equals, how do I represent 6 less than c? C minus 6. Remember, less than is a tricky one. It flips it to the back. So 6 less than is actually going to be c minus 6. Good. If I look at b, 15 more than z times 6 is 11 less than y times 2. Is equal sign. If it's annoying for you to find the equal sign first and then look at what goes on the left and right side, I don't really care if you just read left to right, however you want to do it. It's up to you. Let's start on the left side. 15 more than z times 6. So how do I represent 15 more than z times 6? Yes?
60 plus 15.
Yep. How else could I write it?
15 plus 2.
Yep. Yep. What property tells me I can either write it as 6z plus 15 or 15 plus 6z? It doesn't matter. A property tells me order doesn't matter in addition. Anybody? What property tells me I can switch the order and it doesn't matter? Starts with the C. Driving a car. Commutative, yes. I go from home to work and work to home, so the order I put addition or multiplication doesn't matter. So 6z plus 15 is 11 less than y times 2. How do I represent 11 less than y times 2? 2y minus 11. Less than sends it to the back, so 2y minus 11. It doesn't say solve, it just says translate each into an equation. Any questions on that? Same as we did last chapter, except with equal signs. Example 2. A jelly bean manufacturer produces 1,250,000 jelly beans per hour. How many hours does it take to produce 10 million jelly beans? This is a story problem. What did I tell you last week before? You always want to look for first when you are given a story problem. Anybody remember? Story problems can be overwhelming. What do you want to look for first to help you kind of get it set up? Yeah, question. What are they looking for? So as I read this, what are they looking for? Nope. Read it. Nope.
How many hours it takes to produce 10 million?
How many hours? Whatever they are asking for is almost always going to be your variable. So h is going to equal the number of hours. I know story problems can be overwhelming. That is why it's easiest if you look and say, okay, this is what the variable is first. Whatever they're asking for is almost always going to be your variable. I want to know how many hours, so h is going to represent the number of hours. Now let's go back and see what they tell me about that. So what do they tell me about? What information do they give me in respect to hour?
1,250,000 jelly beans made an hour.
Okay, 1,250,000 jelly beans are made per hour. So how do I represent that if it's per hour? Times h. Per is times. So times h. It's 1,250,000 jelly beans per hour. Per is multiplication. Times the number of hours. And that will give me the total. And what do they tell me the total is? 10 million. I know story problems are overwhelming, but it's easiest if you find your variable first and then go back and kind of think, okay, what do they tell me about it?
Okay, so you couldn't do this.
You could. We're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna set the equation first and then do that. Yes. Yeah. Yes. We'll do that.
It
Yes.
doesn't do that first.
No, I know. So as I look at this, I want to solve this for h. So we are going to divide by the 1,250,000. Now, we can use a calculator for this, but what can I do? What shortcut can I use so I don't have to type in so many zeros? Anybody remember besides Elsa? Huh? No. Yeah, we're not going to worry about that. Easier than that. Yes.
You multiply numbers and then add how many zeros you use.
Yeah, we're going to worry about the zeros, but we can just cancel out zeros. So if I'm dividing big numbers, just start canceling out zeros. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then you have to stop until you run out of zeros. So what you can add in your calculator is 10,000 or whatever, 1,000, because there's 3 zeros, 1,000 divided by 125, which is 8. And make sure you label it 8 hours. So there's a shortcut. If you're dividing big numbers, you can cross out until you run out of zeros, and then whatever number is left, just divide it. So 8 hours. Which makes sense. They should always make sense. 8 is an okay number of hours to work. You're not going to have a negative. You're not going to have like 58 hours. I guess you could, but okay. That would be awful. I would not want to produce jelly beans for that long. Any questions on that one? Okay, let's look at B, another story problem. There are 50 members in the North Carolina Senate. This is 70 fewer than the number in the North Carolina House of Representatives. How many members are in the North Carolina House of Representatives? Story problem. What are they asking for?
How many members are in the North Carolina House of Representatives?
Yep, so M is whatever they're asking for. How many members are in the North Carolina House of Representatives? So M is the number in the North Carolina, I'm abbreviating, number in North Carolina House of, maybe I won't use that abbreviation, House of Representatives. Okay? So M, whatever they're looking for, is the number of members in the House of Representatives. That's what I'm looking for. Always look for a variable. Go back and read what information they give me about that. So as I go back and read, we're going to read and try to set up an equation. What do they tell me about that?
50 members in the North Carolina Senate.
Okay.
70 fewer than the ones in the House of Representatives.
Carolina Senate. This
is 70 fewer than the number in the North Carolina House of Representatives. How do I represent that?
50 plus 70.
Nope. There are 50 members in the North Carolina Senate. This is
50
equals. Yes, that's a hard one because you don't see that because it's not in one sentence. But there are 50 members in the North Carolina Senate. This is referring to the 50. This is equal sign. So 50 equals 70 fewer than the number in the North Carolina House of Representatives. And how would I represent 70 fewer than the number in the North Carolina House of Representatives?
70 minus 7.
70 fewer than. M minus 70. Good. That one's tricky. M minus 70. Because that is 70 fewer than M. M represents how many are in the House of Representatives. And I want to know M. How do I find M? Add 70, or you can just kind of think about it. What number minus 70 gives you 50? 120 equals M. So 120 members. Make sure you label. Okay, good. Okay, a couple more in this section, and then we're going to be done for right now. I'll give you a couple minute break. Example 3, translate the sentence into a formula. The perimeter of a square equals 4 times the length of a side. We're going to translate it into a formula, which is the same as basically saying an equation. So how would I translate example 3 into a formula? The perimeter of a square equals 4 times the length of a side. Give me some thoughts.
Are we going to use P for perimeter?
That's fine. You can. Perimeter of a square equals 4 times the length of a side. It's the perimeter of a square, so square is just representing a shape. The perimeter of a square equals 4 times the length of a side.
E equals 4x.
Yep, that works. The perimeter of a square equals, equal sign, so perimeter equals 4 times the length of a side. 4 times s is f, if s is the length of a side. Okay, if I look at B, in a right triangle, the square of the measure of the hypotenuse, C, is equal to the sum of the squares of the measures of the legs A and B. This one's tricky. Look for my equal sign. The square of the measures of the hypotenuse C. How do I represent the square of the measure of the hypotenuse C? How do I represent the square of the measure of the hypotenuse C? How do I represent the square of something? Keep thinking about it. How do I represent the square of something? Austin, you with me? Okay, looked like you were sleeping. How do I represent the square of something? Give me guesses.
Would it be C squared?
C squared, yep. The square of the hypotenuse C. C squared is equal to, equal sign. Sum means what? We had issue with this on the test. Sum means plus, not multiplication. Sum of the square of the legs A and B. Huh? Square of the legs of A and B.
A squared plus B squared.
Yep, which you know that formula. Pythagorean theorem. So the square of the measures of legs A and B, A squared, and then it's a sum, plus B squared. Okay, a couple more in this section, and then we'll give you a couple minute break. Next one, example 4. Now we're going backwards like we did. We are translating the equation into a sentence. There can be different answers for this one. We're not going to do example 5, so you can cross that out. So example 4, translate each equation into a sentence. Remember, we're representing the variable as a number. No, don't put x, put a number. So how could I write 12? This, I'm not going to tell you because I would tell you. How do I represent example A in a sentence using words? Ethan?
12 minus 2 times the number is equal to -5.
That works. 12. What did you say? 12 what?
12 minus 2 times the number
12 minus 2 times the number
is equal to
-5. Okay. How else could I write it? Let's do, what's one more way you could? What's another way you could write it?
12 fewer than 2 times the number.
12 fewer would be 2x minus 12. How else could I write it? Someone besides Ethan.
2x less than 12.
Yeah, I don't want 2x though. 2 times the number, less than 12. Keep going. How do I represent the equal sign? They're back here. Is -5. Yeah, so there's lots of options for the ones like this. Okay, let's look at B. If I look at equation B, okay, a number squared, that's fine. A number squared okay, like takes care of a squared, a number squared. Keep going. Plus 3 times the number.
Equal
Yep. 3 times the number.
divided by 6.
Yep. Equals, or is, equals a number divided by 6. Okay, good. Any questions on that? Is it doable? Same as what we did in chapter 0 or 1 after chapter 1, except for adding the equal sign. Okay? Take a couple minute break, and we are going to finish these. Finish 2-2.